Title: Poison Blood. When my sister's betrayal became a family secret. When I tell people my sister ruined my life, they assume I'm being dramatic. But you can't really grasp betrayal until you've watched your own flesh and blood destroy the one good thing you thought you had, and then act like you were the problem for not forgiving her. I 24F used to be close with my sister Tara to 6F. She was the kind of person everyone adored, charming, confident, always the golden child. I was quieter, the listener, the one who picked up her pieces when things fell apart. For most of my life, I admired her, even when she didn't deserve it. Then I met Evan, 25 meters. He was my first serious boyfriend, and at the time, I truly thought he was different. We dated for almost 2 years. Evan was attentive, gentle, and somehow made me feel like I was finally standing in the sun after years of living in Tara's shadow. I brought him to every family gathering, and, of course, Tara was there. At first, I thought they got along because they both cared about me. I wanted them to be close, until closeness became something else. It started small. Private jokes I wasn't in on, text messages between them that were just about the party, and little glances that lingered too long. When I confronted Evan about it, he swore I was being paranoid. Tara laughed and told me I needed to learn to trust people. I wanted to believe them both so badly that I convinced myself I was just insecure. But 3 months later, Tara got sick. Really sick. She was pale, constantly exhausted, and couldn't stop crying. MOM thought she was depressed. I thought maybe something serious was wrong. I even took her to the hospital once when she fainted at home. That's when the doctor came out and said, "Well, need to talk about your test results, Miss Clark. It seems you've contracted an STD." I froze. Tara went silent, and then she started crying. That's when it all came out. The affair, the lies, the months of sneaking around behind my back. She and Evan had been sleeping together for almost half a year. She claimed it just happened one night when they were drunk. Then it kept happening. She said she didn't mean to hurt me, but she had feelings for him. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My mother gasped. My father stormed out, and I couldn't even cry. I just stared at her. My sister, my best friend. Evan admitted it later too, but he tried to twist it. Said Tara seduced him, that he was confused, and that it didn't mean anything. He even begged me to take him back, saying that I was the only one he loved. But how do you forgive someone who touched your sister with the same hands he used to hold you? And worse, had given both of us the same infection. The same one that made her sick. The same one that burned like fire when I realized I had it too. That was the last time I spoke to him. But Tara, she didn't stop trying. She wrote letters. She came to my apartment crying, saying she'd been punished enough and that family should forgive. My mom took her side, saying, "She's your sister, you'll regret holding on to anger." My dad just avoided the topic altogether. Everyone wanted peace, but at the cost of my pain. I moved out, blocked them both, and didn't go home for almost a year. I didn't go to Tara's birthday, or Christmas, or Mom's Easter brunch. I couldn't, because forgiveness wasn't going to erase the betrayal, or the nausea I felt whenever I thought about what they did. But last month, Mom called me and said Tara had a new diagnosis, one that could be serious. She wanted me to visit, for family's sake. I almost agreed. Almost. But then she said something that stopped me cold. "She talks about you every day," Mom said. "She knows she made a mistake, but she's your sister. Blood is thicker than water." And I replied, "Yeah, Mom. But betrayal runs thicker than both. Now my entire family thinks I'm heartless. My aunt say I'm cruel for abandoning Tara in her time of need. Even my dad, who once refused to speak to her, told me she's paying for what she did. Let it go. But I can't. Every time I imagine her face, I see Evan's too. I see the betrayal, the sickness, the lies, and I can't find a version of myself that could ever look her in the eye again. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for not forgiving my sister after she slept with my boyfriend and made both of us sick? Because my family seems to think I am. But sometimes I wonder if it's really cruelty, or just finally choosing myself over someone who never would have done the same. Part to the echo of her apology, it's been 9 months since I last spoke to my sister. 9 months since I slammed the door on my family, packed my life into 2 suitcases, and moved into a 1-bedroom apartment 3 cities away. I thought distance would heal me. I thought time would dull the edges of betrayal. But healing isn't linear. It's messy and cruel, and sometimes it circles right back to the beginning, especially when the past refuses to stay buried. It started with a text from my cousin Amelia. "Tara posted something about you. Thought you should see." My stomach twisted before I even opened it. It was a photo, me and Tara, from 2 years ago before everything fell apart. We were laughing, sitting on my old porch, sunlight tangled in our hair. The caption read, "Sometimes the ones you love the most hurt you the deepest, but forgiveness is strength. I hope someday she finds it in her heart." There were hundreds of comments, people I hadn't seen in years flooding in with sympathy for her. "You're so brave, Tara. Family is everything. She'll come around." But the worst part, she'd changed her profile picture to that same photo, both of us smiling before the world knew what she'd done. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. She was rewriting history, turning herself into the victim. I didn't respond. I wanted to scream, to post the truth, to tell everyone how forgiveness was easy to ask for when you were the one who had committed the crime. But I didn't. I deleted the app. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, my mom called. Her tone was cautious, the kind she used when she was trying to avoid setting me off. "Honey, can you please talk to your sister? She's not doing well. She's been posting all these things and she's not herself." "Not herself?" I snapped. "You mean not pretending well enough?" Mom sighed. "She knows she messed up. She's sorry. Sorry doesn't fix what she did to me." Then Mom said something that nearly made me drop my phone. "She's in the hospital again." I froze. "What happened?" "She's been sick for weeks. Her immune system's weak because of the infection. The doctors say it's complicated." And then, softly, "She's asking for you." For a moment, I didn't know how to breathe. My chest tightened, my mind spinning through the memories. Her laughter, our childhood, her lies, her crying confession. I wanted to say no, to protect the small shred of peace I'd built. But something inside me, maybe guilt, maybe habit, whispered, "What if this is the last time?" So I went. Walking into that hospital felt like walking into a memory I'd tried to burn. The sterile air, the echo of beeping machines. It all made me feel like an intruder in my own story. When I reached her room, I hesitated at the door. She looked smaller, paler. Her once perfect hair was tied back messily, her eyes sunken but familiar. For a moment, she looked like the sister I used to know. "You came," she whispered, voice trembling. "Don't make this more dramatic than it needs to be," I muttered, but my throat was tight. She smiled faintly. "I deserve that." There was a long silence, the kind that fills every corner of the room and presses against your ribs until you can't ignore it anymore. "I didn't think you'd want to see me," she said quietly. "I didn't." She nodded. "I wouldn't forgive me either. But I needed to see you before." She trailed off. "Before what?" "Before I can't anymore." That sentence sat heavy in the air. I didn't know if she meant death or just disappearance. Either way, it scared me. I wanted to ask why she did it again. I wanted her to tell me that she regretted everything, that she wished she'd chosen differently. But before I could say anything, she spoke again. "He came to see me." I froze. "Who?" She didn't need to answer. I already knew Evan. The name still made my stomach knot. "He said he wanted to apologize to both of us," Tara said, her tone unreadable. "He says has changed." I laughed bitterly. "Changed? Has the reason we're both like this?" He said has sober now, in therapy, that he regrets what happened. I stared at her, anger bubbling under my ribs. "And you believe him?" "I don't know," she whispered. "But maybe you should talk to him. Maybe you both need closure." Closure. What a pretty word for reopening a wound. I left the hospital that night shaking. I told myself I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. But the next morning, I got a message request. It was from him. "Hey, I heard you visited Tara. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'd like to talk if you can." And just like that, the past clawed its way back into my life again. I didn't respond, but part of me wanted to. Maybe because I still needed answers. Maybe because I still wanted him to hurt the way I did. A week later, Tara was discharged. I thought she'd go home quietly, maybe stay out of my life for good. Instead, she showed up at my apartment unannounced, standing in the hallway, holding to coffees like nothing had ever happened. "Truce," she said softly. "You're unbelievable. I just want to talk, please." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She sat on the couch, fidgeting with her sleeves. "Evan's in town," she said finally. "He wants to see you." I told him I'd ask. "You what?" I snapped. "Why would you do that?" "Because I think he really is sorry. He told me he never loved me. that it was always you." Her voice cracked on the last word, and in that moment I realized something horrifying. She wasn't just sorry. She was still in love with him. Her tears weren't for the damage she caused, they were for losing him. I stood up, my heart pounding. "You don't get to do this again," I said coldly. "You don't get to crawl back into my life and make it about him again." She stared up at me, eyes wide and wet. "I just wanted to fix things." "No, Tara," I said. "You wanted to fix your guilt." I told her to leave, and this time I meant it. As the door closed behind her, I finally understood something I hadn't before, that forgiveness wasn't a door you could just open again when someone knocked hard enough. It was a wall, and some walls are built to stay standing. Part 3. The return of the ghost. 3 weeks passed before I heard from him, long enough for me to almost believe the past had finally lost my address. But one evening, as I came home from work, I found a single white envelope under my apartment door. No name, no return address, just my initials written in his handwriting, the same sharp, slanted strokes that once made my heart race. Inside was a single letter, no apology, no greeting, just one line: "You deserve the truth. Meet me at the old pier on Sunday. It'll bring everything." Everything. That word lingered in my mind for hours. I told myself to ignore it, to burn the letter, block his number, and never look back. But that's the thing about betrayal. Even when you think you've moved on, some part of you still wants answers. And so, on Sunday evening, I found myself walking down to the pier where we used to go during college, where he once told me he'd marry me someday. The sunset was bleeding into the sea, painting everything gold and red. He was already there, leaning against the railing like no time had passed. But he looked older, thinner, like life had taken a few too many swings at him. "You came," he said softly. "You left a note under my door. What did you expect?" He smiled faintly. "I didn't expect anything. I just wanted to tell you the truth before it eats me alive." "The truth?" I scoffed. "You mean another version of your excuses?" He shook his head and handed me a small brown envelope. Inside were photos, hospital papers, and a letter. "Tara never told you everything," he said quietly. "She didn't get sick because of me." "Not exactly." I frowned, flipping through the documents. Test results, medical notes, a date that didn't make sense. "What are you talking about?" "She knew she was sick before I ever touched her," he said. "She used me to feel wanted. She told me you didn't love me anymore, that you were seeing someone else." I froze. My stomach dropped. "She what?" "She lied to both of us," he continued, his voice trembling. "By the time I found out, it was too late. You were gone, and she was already playing the victim." I wanted to scream, to tell him he was lying. But the paper in my hand, a signed hospital note, dated 3 weeks before he and Tara slept together, said otherwise. My throat tightened. "Why are you showing me this now?" He looked out at the water. "Because she's dying." My knees went weak. "What?" "The infection came back. She didn't tell you. She didn't tell anyone. But she's been messaging me, saying she doesn't have much time left and she wants you to forgive her." I stared at him, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. "So? What? You thought dragging me here would make me pity her?" "No," he said. "I thought maybe it would make you understand that I wasn't the only one who broke you." The wind howled between us, sharp and cold. I wanted to walk away, to leave him standing there with his guilt and his ghosts. But curiosity, or maybe grief, rooted me to the ground. "You're telling me she used you just to hurt me?" He hesitated, then nodded. "She wanted to prove something, that you weren't the perfect sister, that she could have what you had. But I swear, I didn't know until later." Tears burned in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. "You still went through with it." "I was stupid," he whispered, "but I didn't love her. I never did." I turned to leave, but his hand caught my wrist. "Please," he said, "if she dies and you never talk to her again, it'll destroy you. Don't let her take your peace with her." I yanked my arm away and walked off without another word. That night, I couldn't sleep. His words replayed in my head like a curse. By morning, I had 20 missed calls, all from my mom. When I answered, her voice was broken. "It's Tara," she said. "She collapsed last night. The doctors don't think she'll make it through the week." And just like that, the world went silent. I went to see her. I didn't know why. Maybe because, despite everything, she was still my sister. Maybe because I needed to see her one last time to believe she was truly sorry. When I walked into her hospital room, she was asleep, her skin pale and fragile against the white sheets. Her breathing was shallow. I sat down beside her, unsure of what to say. After a few minutes, her eyes fluttered open. When she saw me, She smiled weakly. You came, she whispered. You always say that, I said, my voice trembling. She reached for my hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling. I didn't mean for it to happen, she said. I was angry, jealous. You always had everything, friends, love, confidence. I just wanted to feel like I mattered. So you destroyed me to feel better, I asked, tears streaming down my face. She looked away, ashamed. I destroyed myself too. Silence. The machines beeped softly, counting her fading moments. Evan told me the truth, I said quietly. Her eyes filled with tears. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't want you to think I was using it as an excuse. You lied to me, Tara. You made me hate you. I know, she whispered, and I deserve that. But please don't carry it forever. I wanted to say no, to tell her she didn't deserve forgiveness. But as I looked at her, fragile, broken, fading, something inside me shifted. I forgive you, I said softly. Her eyes widened and she began to cry. Thank you. That was the last thing she ever said to me. She died 2 days later. At the funeral, Evan showed up. He didn't speak to me. He just stood at the back, head bowed, hands shaking. For the first time, I realized he wasn't a villain, just another person who had lost himself in the storm. After the ceremony, I walked to the ocean alone, the same place it all began. I scattered her ashes into the wind and whispered, you hurt me, but I won't let it define me anymore. And for the first time in years, I felt something like peace. But as I turned to leave, my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. She told me everything before she died. There's something you don't know. Meet me where it all started. It was from Evan. And just like that, the ghost of betrayal stirred again.